This week on the Unofficial Commentators, I hold it down with a special guest host. I also talk about the tragic passing of Yordano Ventura and what the repercussions of this tragic passing will be. We talk about the current situation of the NBA and LeBron's rant, as well as what should they do with Carmelo Anthony. I rant on a bunch of different situations, and we cover some of the NFL's championship rounds. All of that and more on the Unofficial Commentators, which starts now. Okay, everyone, you were probably expecting to see the Unofficial Commentators, Paki and Jay. However, it's going to be me and my compadre, Dago, the two-time champion of the League of Haters Fantasy Football League. And, man, I'm feeling a little bit off, so I'm going to need some liquid courage here.
Oh, that's the verde.
Yeah, some of you may recognize this. This is where I learned. Bringing it back. All right, so we got a lot to talk about today, man, and we're going to try to keep it to a minimum. Before we get into our topics, I'm going to mention how to follow us. You can follow us on YouTube at Unofficial Commentators on YouTube, Unofficial Commentators on Podomatic. We're on Instagram at Unofficial Commentators. We're on Facebook, Unofficial Commentators, the page. We're on Twitter at UC_podcast, and you can hit us up with topics that you'd like us to discuss or just content or comments about our podcast at unofficialcommentators@gmail.com. All right, so Dago, full slate of topics today. If you'd like, just let me lead the way. I'm going to start at kind of a sad place because I'd rather start there than end there. And it's Sunday, was it? We're getting ready to watch some football games, expecting some championship rounds. And we get hit with the news that not one, but two up-and-coming Dominican baseball players, one of them was already a champion, I believe, passed away. And it was not of natural causes. So Yordano Ventura dies after a car accident, and toxicology report is still up in the air, but it is suspected that he died from having been driving under the influence of possibly alcoholic beverages. And I may sound a bit hypocritical because here I am, constantly drinking on the podcast, but I'll have you know that I do this from the comfort of my own home, and I don't usually get behind the wheel after this. The only wheel I get behind is, if there was a wheel in my bed, I'd get behind that, but that's about it.
Yeah, man, it was a very sad Sunday, I might add, and not to correct you or anything, but the only one up and coming, and he wasn't really up and coming, he was already established, was Yordano. Yordano was 25 years old, already past champion with the Kansas City Royals. And it's a very, very, very sad set of news that his family got. He was driving in one of the highways in Dominican Republic, and per one of the spokesmen in the direction of transportation and motor vehicles, I think it was said that the highway is a little bit difficult to drive in.
And probably harder if you've been drinking.
Exactly. So probably,
and also if you're drinking at 3 a.m. when we know that they're not very well lit.
Yeah, especially that they're not well lit. So it's very sad. It's very sad. And the thing about the toxicology report is that the future of his family is hanging on the balance, because if the toxicology report says that he was drunk, they're out of some money that could help him in the future.
He was signed to a contract that basically brought his entire family out of poverty. I don't know him personally. I don't know how much he was invested into his family, but I'm pretty sure that anyone who plays any professional sports looks back
the
at
first thing they think of is, backing up your family. That's
I don't know about your family. There's a lot of, cousins that come out the woodwork, but at least, you think about your mom and Yeah, and what they kind of put out there, it looks like he was under contract with the Royals for another 3 years, and they still owed him $19.75 million, plus a $1 million. Yeah, plus a $1 million buyout. I mean, if his family is still living in the Dominican Republic, $20 million sets them for life. I mean, I know that there's a lot of taxes that get taken from that, but if you know how to manage your money well and you make wise investments, you are set for life. Your mother may never have to work again. And he's 25, and he was 25, and he threw 100 miles per hour.
Yeah,
dead near 100, bro. On average.
His average velocity was like 97 or something like that, but the top velocity was 100.
What the hell? I mean, I don't know how sad it can be though. Like, it's just dumb, man. Like, I get a little bit upset.
The news is sad. I get you. The news is sad. Is what I'm trying to get at. The whole crashing your vehicle when you know that the highways in the Dominican Republic are not well lit.
Yeah, but it's not even the highways in the Dominican Republic, man. Like, there's situations that can be avoided, and I often have this conversation with a lot of people that I speak to often. You can avoid situations that I see that may potentially get me in trouble. You know, you have money to throw around. You have money to buy a bunch of drinks. You have money to buy drinks for everyone who's there partying with you. You probably have money to pay a damn driver not to drink so that you don't get in a situation like this. I mean, I don't understand first of all, the machismo that most of these people have, where in Dominican Republic in particular, like, you're more or less of a man based on how much alcohol you can actually drink, and then say that you're able to function with the amount of alcohol that you had. Like, you can have 30 beers, you know, somehow make it home. God knows how many stray dogs you hit on the way. And just because you were able to, you know, fall asleep and wake up in your bed, you can, you know, tell the story the next day about how you drank 30 beers. Like, I don't understand why you have to do certain things in excess.
It ends up being a funny story. I get it. The thing is that it's mostly an age thing, and it's really a cultural thing, and mostly in Latin America, you know. So
but you know what? I understand the part. I understand the part about Latin America, but one thing that pisses me off is just a male thing in general is to kind of push boundaries, because it says clearly under his contract that it will be voided if he's driving under the influence, right? He doesn't have to die necessarily. He just has to be in an accident, and we can void your contract because you were drinking. Yeah. So why the hell even push it? Like,
I don't know, man.
Everything that I'm saying right now, I have to say that it's alleged, right? We still don't know, but all signs kind of point towards this.
Yeah. I agree with you, but you also have to consider that it's also an age thing. You can't possibly tell me that at 25 you had the most mature decisions you considered the most mature decisions in your life. Not at 25.
I got married at 25.
He was
moved out of my house. I believe I had it.
Yes, but not every.
28, 29 when Angel came around.
And I'll commend you. Yeah, and I'll commend you because you are a very responsible person, but not every 25-year-old is a responsible person.
Well, the only thing that he has over me is that he kind of had money to throw around, but and mind you, I did my share of things, but I was usually, you know, that's not the word I'm looking for. I was usually the one in the group that had the car. Therefore, I knew not to do things in a certain amount of excess. And like the song says, I didn't really chase waterfalls. Like, I stuck to the things that I knew. I wasn't going to go, you know, to some foreign place that I'm not familiar with to have to drive back home on my own after I had a drink. You know, I did things in moderation, and I stayed close to the areas that I knew.
Right, and I understand. And he was around the area that he knew. But again, it's a 25-year-old guy. He has money. He's been drinking. Let's assume he's been drinking. I'm not going to confirm that he was, because I'm not a toxicologist.
Allegedly, we'll just say that for now.
Allegedly, yeah. Let's say allegedly. But it's unfortunate. And the thing is that I read somewhere that he was already wary of what happened to Oscar Taveras, who died under the same circumstances. So it's a little mind-boggling the fact that he goes on speeding and is drinking and knows that he shouldn't be speeding and drinking and has an accident that costs him his life. It's
What's the
it's
definition
very
of
unfortunate.
insanity? Like they told you, I don't know if it's
Repeating
the
the
same
same
thing and
thing,
expecting different
expecting a
results.
different
You
result.
know about
Yeah,
people that already went through this, and you figure, nah, it's not gonna happen to me. I don't know if that's necessarily an age thing. That just sounds like a stupid thing.
yeah. You know what I read? I read that um, he was robbed, and apparently he was pursuing the robber. But I don't. That was never confirmed
What the
by any
hell?
other media outlet. Hey, hey, man, I'm just telling you what I read. I'm not saying that this is a conscious decision and this is something that I would do, but that's something I read
What in the
somewhere. But
hell could they have possibly taken from you to make you have to chase people?
I don't know. I don't
Uh,
know. Honestly, I
and,
don't know.
and if that was the case, this again goes to my point of the machismo thing. My man, you are a rich young Dominican that doesn't necessarily live there all the time. Get the cops involved,
Yeah,
man. Spread some of your money around. They'll
yeah,
find those
but
people.
it's yeah, I get that, and that is true. But at some point, it's stuff that you work hard for, and even though you have the money to replace whatever was stolen from you, it's still something that costs you money. But again, I'm talking from
Try
my point of
replacing
view,
his
and
life, bro.
bro, I understand, bro. I understand that
He he
replacing a
was
life
he
is not
was
easy.
rich, and anything that they took from him, he could have gotten back either by going through the
Yes,
legal channels, and even if you have to throw some money around and get some lawyers involved and some cops. I'm not
yeah,
saying that you can pay off cops in the Dominican Republic, but you get some cops involved, you motivate them the right way, buy them some pica pollos and
yeah,
sandwiches, and
yeah,
you'll get your stuff back. And if you don't, just buy new shit. But you know what you
yeah,
can't buy?
yes. Your life. You can't bring your life back. That is true.
And not only that,
But again,
listen,
this is
they
me.
take
I told you that there was
let's
something that
let's
I
say
read
let's say that
somewhere
you
that was
come
never
across some
confirmed.
people and they snatch your chain, right?
Yes.
And you're gonna chase after them to get back your chain. My man, there's no chain in the world that costs $20 million, and that's how much you lost by chasing these people.
Yeah.
The
Yeah.
only
But
way that you can save your family from a future existence of living in poverty is going to be by hoping to God that somehow it shows up that you weren't intoxicated when you were driving.
that is absolutely true. And the thing, again, I tell you, this is something I read and it was never confirmed because it doesn't make any sense to me. Why would you like go after a robber, especially going in the highway at that time of night in the highway that has already been rated as a very difficult highway to drive in? So
Mm. All right. Well,
it's
I
really
want to move on
stupid.
from that because
The other thing,
it's feeling like kind of a bummer. I don't know the other gentleman. What was his name? Andy Marte? Did he play
Andy Marte
MLB?
and Andy Marte, yeah, he played. Last time he played was in 2014, and guess what? The pitcher in that game was also Yordano Ventura.
Mm. Go figure.
So Andy had an up and down career. He was never well known, but he was a utility player. He played with the Indians and then with the Diamondbacks, but he was never that stellar player, at least in the major leagues. But in the Dominican Winter League, he was very well known by because he was a member of the Águilas Ibaeñas.
Mm. Well, R.I.P. to both those gentlemen. I hope this
Yes.
serves to teach people a lesson about, things that you shouldn't do. Just be.
Actually, I think that did teach teams, at least teams, a lesson. They're not letting some players come to Dominican Republic during the off season.
Oh, major league players?
Starting, yeah,
Oh,
starting
for
Castro
sure.
was one of them.
For sure.
Stalin Castro was not allowed to come to Dominican Republic during the off
Man, they know
season
what it
because of
is,
that.
and even after that World Baseball Classic that they were all getting drunk against that Dutch team, they know what it is now. Those players know. I mean, not the players, but those teams know that's what they get together for.
Yeah.
Just fill me in on what's going on with the Dominican Winter League. I have no idea what's. I know that some people follow it here. It's kind of hard for me. Plus, my team isn't even in the running, so I'm not even following. But I heard that after many
Well,
years, Los Tigres del
the
Licey, las
Águilas
Águilas
Ibañez made it
Ibaeñas,
again to the finals,
they're
but
back in
I
the
think
finals. Best of
they lost
9, which I
again.
believe is unprecedented.
Yeah, best of 9 is still something that I scratch my head because that's something that was instituted because of the George's hurricane. I came here in 1998, and they had to shorten the season and extend the finals. So best of 9, best of 5, best of 9, and I think Licey won. So I'm not too sure about that. I'm not really happy, but
The series is over?
I think so. I have to check. I don't.
How many games did it go? Because I'm going to look into it, but I think that ever since they made it best of 9, like, it always goes to 9 games.
Yeah, but no, not often.
Not often.
Mostly it goes to 9, but sometimes the other team sucks and they go to 5.
I don't believe that two teams get to that far are exactly that equal to have to push it to 9 games. There's always been some, conspiracies as to
You know, they booted one of the guys that he was like
the games are set up and they do this and they pay refs and they push it to 9 games because 9 games sell and you can sell TV spots and you sell stadium tickets, and it just seems a little fishy to me that every single time it goes to 9 games.
9 games. You have to make that money, I guess.
I mean, it happens every so often that the Major League Baseball goes to 7 games. It happened with basketball; they went to 7 games, but that's rare. It's not so rare in the case of Dominican Winter League. It seems like they always go to 9 games, and then those players
I don't want to get.
Then those players have to go play Serie del Caribe, and they're exhausted from playing 9 games. It's a thing. I don't know. But I guess
I don't want to get into that conspiracy thing. I mean, there was a guy. He was like, let's say, well-known fan of the Los Tigres del Licey, and he was banned by the league because he said that the games were fixed. So I don't want my future assistance, my future visits to any stadiums to be banned because of that. But there's a conspiracy theory floating around saying
I think that's where I'm going to protest too much. That's something you would do when you're scared you're going to get caught. Like, why is that fan's opinion so important? People say that all the time. I say it. I dare you to fucking ban me.
He's important because I think he's
someone in the know?
Yeah, no, not someone in the know, but he's an animator or something like that, a celebrity of sorts.
I'm a celebrity. I'm every week on the Unofficial Commentators podcast. Find us on YouTube, Unofficial Commentators, and on Podomatic, Unofficial Commentators. I'm an internet celebrity.
Luckily, they won't ban you.
They better not fucking ban me. I fucking dare them to ban me. I dare you to ban me from your Dominican Winter League games, which I may never go because I don't plan on going there in the winter anyway. Any damn way. I want to move on to some NBA. I'm kind of in a ranting mood, man. I feel a little bit animated. Usually I leave the ranting up to Paki, but he's not here. He's sleeping comfortably in his home, and you're playing kind of the calm person today. So I want to talk about NBA, and I kind of had a bit of an epiphany after hating so much the fact that some of these players join these super teams. In particular, this summer, Kevin Durant joined the Golden State Warriors, and watching how boring the Golden State Warriors are, because without Durant, even with winning the 26 games in a row and losing one to win 30 more in a row or whatever it was, it still felt to me like they were winning a lot of close games, a lot of buzzer beaters, a lot of like, is this going to be the team that's going to knock him off? And then no, they find a way to overcome. Now, when they're going to lose, they lose, and then when they're going to win, they just kind of blow out. And I don't know, it's just kind of boring to watch. But the epiphany that I came to is I kind of like the idea of strong players joining very strong teams. So a superstar going to a star team, I'm coming around to that idea, and I'll tell you why. In my opinion, and people will disagree, we often talk about, this player is better than that player, and look at these stats, and look at this, and look at that. And oftentimes it comes down to rings. Now, we know that some players, no matter how good they are, they're never going to play in the right situation and get rings. Like, things tend to happen. Look at a Karl Malone. Like, even at the end of his career, he was ring chasing. He went to the Lakers of Kobe and Shaq, who had won 3 already, hoping to get that ring, before he left, and he didn't get it. And another player that played on that team was Gary Payton, and he goes to the Heat a few years later, and he gets his ring before he retires.
I think he went to Boston, too, and he got another ring.
No, Payton didn't. I don't think he made it to that Boston squad that won. Anyway, the point I'm trying to make is, if Kevin Durant wins a ring with Golden State, like, that's not something that we can hold over his head anymore. We can't say LeBron is obviously better than Durant because, rings. Well, yeah, now Durant has rings. Now you have to start comparing different things. Is it the way they play? Is it how they play head-to-head? Is it points? Is it all-around game? It's going to bring back this is how I see it going forward, right?
Argument.
This is
comparison.
Right? Like that, not the Google comparison, or not the quick microwave answer of, obviously because rings.
It's actually detailed comparison. You have to look deep into their stat and
just about every argument right now, you can just kind of go Google, boom, boom, boom. Here's the answer. There's your answer, and it's over. Like there's no arguing anymore. And I remember, growing up talking about sports with other people. That's the thing you wanted. Like, you would run into people that say so and so sucks, and you're just like, well, I don't think he sucks. And you go back and forth, and this one brings up a game, and this one brings up a series, and that one brings up a stat, and then you can ultimately shut down the whole thing by saying Michael Jordan won 6 rings. Okay, right?
And that was the end all be all of arguments.
So now, but have all of those potential superstars join super teams, have them get their rings, and now we're going to compare them based on their actual merit as players. How about that? And then, I know that has a lot of different branches. It's going to go into, well, this one won more rings, or this one did it with less of a team, or this one did it with. But even then, there's more of a story to it. There's more narrative. There's more things to look at than just rings. If everybody has rings,
there's always been more things to look at than rings. But people don't look at that.
But right now,
rings is the deciding factor.
If I want to shut it down, rings, boom, done. Chips.
I know, but the thing is that rings don't necessarily tell you how good a player is, because
obviously
somehow that player just happened to be in that situation. They happened to be in a good team, and they won it all. But
2 years ago, LeBron James had
out of that environment, and you put him in another environment. Does he make the same? Does he make it to the end?
2 years ago, LeBron James had probably the best finals of any player I've ever seen. And not only does he not get the ring because everyone around them was rotten, like injured. Your big 3 was injured. It just became a big 1 and Matthew Dellavedova. And then on top of that, you see Andre Iguodala get an MVP for slowing LeBron down, He didn't stop him. No. He probably had the best finals ever for slowing him down. And he was the best player in any finals that I have seen in my adult life. Probably as a child, Jordan had a very good finals that I really can't remember right now. But in my adult life, LeBron had the best finals I have ever seen. And at least in that effort, he didn't come out with the ring. So that is that. So speaking of Mr. LeBron, he went on a bit of a rant this week. It's not looking great right now. He had lost 4 of the last 5 games when he went on the rant.
He lost today, too.
And he lost today against another bad team. So he lost against New Orleans without their best player, Anthony Davis. The only player, honestly, that I can mention out of the New Orleans Pelicans team. I have no idea who's their second best player. I know they have a
Holiday, maybe?
If he's even playing, I have no idea. I know he missed a whole bunch of time.
He's their point guard.
Okay, I'll take your word for it. I don't watch much. I don't watch much of the Pelicans. I saw that game and I didn't recognize anybody. Like anytime anyone had the ball, I was zooming in to check out the name on the back of the jersey. So he flips out because he lost to the Anthony Davis-less New Orleans Pelicans, and then this year they lose to the Sacramento Kings, who nobody thinks are any good. Good grief! So the big complaint now is the team building. So the team that he built, he just feels isn't good enough, and he wants what he calls a playmaker. Not that long ago, probably like a week, 2 weeks ago, he absolutely lost his shit when he saw that they were dealing to get Kyle Korver when he said, man, we need a backup point guard. And then I'm listening to some radio shows that say that they just need a point guard in general because if we're going by the title, Kyrie Irving is a point guard, but as many would say,
man, he doesn't play like one.
Man, I'm a point guard. I'm not a pass guard. That position doesn't exist. I'm here to make points, man, buckets. If you happen to be alone, if he's guarded by 2 people and you're kind of cutting to the rim, he may find a way to get there. Maybe he has, 40 points already and he wants to have a highlight for passing the ball through somebody's legs while not looking. He'll get you an assist that way, but this is not your distributor.
He's not a point guard, that is true. And I think LeBron's rant is a bit justified. It's just that people
a bit justified. Why not a whole lot justified?
All right. Basically, LeBron's main argument is that he's playing 48 minutes every game, and he
42.
needs somebody to take 42. All right, 42. And he needs somebody to take a little bit of the weight of the playmaking that he's doing. Yep. Because he shouldn't do it. He's not a point guard. He's a small forward. It
doesn't matter. The NBA is, or basketball in the NBA, in professional basketball, is a game of trends. So we moved into this trend of positionless basketball. Everybody does everything. You have centers shooting threes. You have point guards leading teams in rebounds, and you basically have, anywhere, power forwards. If that's your best player, they basically do everything, jack of all trades. So that whole thing of, this is your position, this is what you should do, that doesn't really matter. But he wants a playmaker. How in the world do you think we're going to get this playmaker? They're already over the luxury tax.
Yeah, I don't think
there aren't any playmakers to be had. And then anyone who has a playmaker that's willing, and let me air quote this, they're willing to trade this playmaker, they're going to want one of your major assets. So that means giving up Kevin Love, giving up, Kyrie Irving, giving up, I don't know if Tristan Thompson is that attractive to people, even though he's really good on the offensive boards. But you have to give up a significant package to get this playmaker. So what you're going to get back doesn't compare to what you're going to be losing. And I just think, man, you just got to write it out. It's more.
He has to write it out. I think for some reason their whole scheme isn't working right, because the way their scheme works is not to be losing to teams without like the Pelicans or the Kings.
Man, it's just January. Like this is typical in LeBron James teams. They tend to tip in January. The Los Angeles Clippers always find ways to pull out some kind of like winning streak in January, and surprisingly, the Philadelphia 76ers, if they keep up what they're doing now, they may have found their groove. They may end up a playoff team. I'm saying that loosely. I don't really think it's going to happen, but they're on the right path right now.
I guess they could be like an 8 seed. I see what you're saying, and it is true they're playing pretty good. But
they may have found their grooves, or maybe they just found the right matchups. You know, matchups make fights, they say, and it's just kind of trending that way. But I don't think that there's any player that could be had that you can get without giving up something that makes your team a championship contender.
Yeah, what he wants, I don't think he's going to get is, like you said, they're over luxury tax. And then besides, I don't think they have the pieces to complete that trade. They may have to give up things, players they don't want to part with.
A player that they didn't want to part with was Kevin Love. Today, it was announced, kind of in the basketball trade rumor mill, that the Knicks offered Carmelo Anthony for Kevin Love straight up, no questions asked.
And I would have balled too. Sorry.
And you would have what?
I wouldn't have taken Carmelo. I wouldn't want Melo. I'm sorry. I heard.
Why the fuck are you apologizing to me?
Podcast. You guys were talking about Melo. And it's true. He only plays iso ball. He doesn't defend. And what they need him for, they already got Kyle Korver for that. You need a spacer guy, and they already have Korver for that. I know they're not comparable by any means, but they wanted a substitute.
Cousin Juan will hang you by your balls for comparing Carmelo Anthony to Kyle Korver.
I am not comparing. I am not. But the type of player they need, they already have in Korver is what I'm trying to say. They don't need Melo.
Well, they need a playmaker. Isn't Melo a playmaker?
I don't know.
I think that it's not his old age. He's not old, but as he ages, Carmelo needs to play closer and closer to the basket. What Paki was talking about was the jab step. The jab step worked because the fake itself was very quick, and it made you think that he was actually going to commit to a shot. And then if he got you, doesn't even have to get you off your feet. If he got you even on your tiptoes, he was fast enough to get by you. Carmelo is not that fast anymore. Yeah. So it's about time that we kind of switch that role. It was announced not long ago that they were going to move Carmelo to a power forward position and see how that goes. The problem with the Knicks is they don't have an identity, but why are you giving me this face? He should definitely play power forward. He has,
do you think?
He has low post moves by the bunches. Like this, stutter, or not even stutter, this jab step, head fake thing to end up shooting a three or a long jumper because he's just not fast enough to get by people rather. Give him the ball in the post and let him go to work. He has a lot of moves. He's light enough. He's versatile enough to get points there. But just head fake and trying to get to the basket isn't going to work, especially when he's not going to pass the ball. So that after that jab step, all that's going to happen is, just stay around him and make it a little bit difficult because he's going to miss the shot. Mm-hmm. There's only one outcome to that, or two outcomes. He either makes it or he misses it. But there's not going to be a pass. Nobody's even cutting. People are just looking around him. But here's the thing, though. I wanted to mention this. As LeBron is being vocal about looking for playmakers or wanting better teammates, I think that the Knicks, the identityless Knicks, should have done a better job of building around Carmelo Anthony. If this was going to be your superstar, why the hell didn't you put pieces around him that work? When he came to the Knicks, he had already had success in Denver with Andre Miller, with Chauncey Billups, even more with Chauncey Billups, who was kind of a ball-dominant point guard.
A facilitator.
That can set you up in the right spots, right? Just kind of get it to Melo in the correct spot and let him flourish. But instead, you surround them with pieces that all kind of stand around and let him go ISO. Like, LeBron said something in his rant, and he was like, what was it they asked him? Like, oh, well, how do you lose a game when Kyrie scores 49 points and you get a triple-double? And he goes, well, what else was I supposed to do? Like, I did everything I could to keep my team in the game, but we just weren't good enough to win.
There's so much you can do. Yeah.
Yeah, we just weren't good enough to win. You put Carmelo Anthony in this situation, and he does what he can, and then everyone else is just standing around. I understand he's not going to pass it or anything like that, but you need to give it to someone else to kind of initiate this offense. You can't give it to Carmelo at the top of the key and say, set everyone else up. He's never going to lead that team in assists.
Is not
God.
the point guard for that team either.
Hells to the no. Derrick Rose is a volume scorer. He scores because he just shoots so damn often, and at the end of the day, he scores 20 points and it looks great, but he missed 17 of those fucking shots. One of the things that made me most upset about Derrick Rose was the fact that he was injured, and during his injury, he was more concerned about, I'm going to come back when I'm able to dunk, and not necessarily getting better at shooting, jump shots, improving your three-pointers, improving your moves to get to the basket, with limited knee mobility. Nope. I'm not coming back until I can dunk.
What?
This is why it took him longer to come back. I don't remember if he necessarily missed like the entire year, but it was something of the sort where he missed the whole year because he was practicing and this and that, and you ask him, are you ready to come back? Nah, I'm not ready to come back until I can dunk.
Look, I think that the best thing the Knicks have done within the last 10 years, 10? Nah, let's go up 5. Is drafting Porzingis.
Fuck that. Push it out to 20. Yeah, but they drafted Porzingis, right? And the idea behind drafting Porzingis is, okay, we're going to go young with this young, player that we're going to develop. And after one good year, they got full of themselves and they went and, paid a whole bunch of money to a bunch of really old, washed-up veterans. Like, Joakim Noah doesn't belong in that team. I know Derrick Rose was a trade though, right? They can get out of Derrick Rose at the end of this year, and I don't even know that the pieces that they traded were that important to the Knicks team anyway. Like, they just kind of gave it a try with what they had. But
no, they gave up a very good center in Robin Lopez.
No, he's not very good. No, he's not a very good center.
Come on. Okay, hold on. Compared to Joakim Noah,
they're pretty much the same thing.
Come on.
They're pretty much the same thing. And if Joakim Noah is a healthy Joakim Noah, he's better than Robin Lopez. But just slightly. They're essentially the same thing. Anyway, they decided to surround this young prospect with a bunch of old players that really can't keep up with him. And then, like, there's no inside-out kind of working the ball around. There's nothing. There's Porzingis, he'll block a shot here and there, but for the most part, he's soft. Just about any abusive big man will take advantage of the fact that he's soft.
He's a scoring guy. He's not a defensive dude.
He'll get his blocks. I've seen him block, up to 5 blocks in one game, but they're just kind of opportunistic blocks, and they're not even blocks that change possession. Like, he'll block a shot and he'll send the ball back to the same team. So it's not even like a situation that is your defense leads to offense. He is, and I'll agree with what a lot of the guys say over in our chat rooms, he is the player that you should build around. But the team, the Knicks, they just don't build around anything. Listen, I said this week as well, and it's a high point of my frustration. Anyone who they put in charge of the Knicks is concerned with winning now. They need to take a step back.
That's the New York mentality. That's unfortunately the New York mentality. You got to win now, and there's very little time to rebuild. And I get it. You have to rebuild. At some point,
they haven't won in 50 years. Like, what's the rush with trying to win now?
I understand. I get you. What I'm giving you a point. I'm agreeing with you. Calm down. This
is the point of my frustration when I talk. You know what? I'm done with the Knicks this year. they're still the team that I grew up loving, man. It's the same logo on the jerseys, right?
I don't know.
On the box
Yeah.
score,
I
same
don't know
logo,
who,
but it's far from the team that I grew up liking. Like, where are the bruisers?
Look,
Where's like the system? Where's everything?
there is no system because the old system died with Van Gundy, and that's it. After that, nothing. And I don't know who had the marvelous idea of hiring Phil Jackson, but that was the dumbest thing somebody has ever done to a basketball team.
I have no
after
idea.
Hiring Isaiah.
I have no idea what the hell that plays into anything. I thought that it was Phil Jackson using the Knicks to keep his name in the spotlight long enough for him to go have some kind of like, managerial or administrative position with the Lakers. But that doesn't seem like it's going anywhere. I mean, he's not creating a reputation of having done a good job. Like, I'd be surprised if anyone hires Phil Jackson when his tenure's done with the Knicks. I don't understand what the hell anyone is getting out of that deal.
Because he's not a basketball operations guy. He's a coach, and the last good thing he did was done about 5 years ago or more. I don't know.
All right,
he's not an operations guy.
Enough ranting on those teams that aren't going to go anywhere. I'm done with the Knicks. Like, whatever expectation we had for them this year, I thought they would at least make the playoffs. I don't even think that's in the possibilities anymore. There's a ton of money invested in a team that's not even going to make the 8th seed in the East. That's a very, very sad state of affairs, considering that teams like the Philadelphia 76ers are only trending upwards. They're kind of far. Like, I don't think they're going to catch up. They're far away.
Upwards because they got rid of Sam Hinkie. Sam Hinkie was not going to do any favors to Philadelphia. They have to thank their lucky stars that guy was booted out.
It was a long process, but I feel like the Philadelphia fans are comparable to New York fans. Like, New York fans, in a way, they talk all that talk, but for the most part, we just don't care. Life in New York is so busy that we don't really care about them. So if they decided, if they
care, because the guy was damaging the team. He was making the team tank it on purpose to get first picks. And at the end of the day, he did nothing with the first picks.
Yeah, well,
what the hell?
He stacked the center on top of a center on top of a center on top of another center.
Mm-hmm. And they have a tall ass team too.
Yeah, now they're. But you know what it is too? Like, it's very different to trade a draft pick that you don't know what it might become, to having a player who you at least saw play in the NBA, and you say like, well, this could work in my team. Let me work out a deal. Right now, teams have seen Jahlil Okafor and Nerlens Noel, and they're thinking, okay, well, I at least know what they are. Let me see how they could fit in my team and what I'm willing to give up for them. So
yeah, but they could have traded them in during the draft, this year's draft, or this past year's draft. I don't know.
Not necessarily.
Nerlens Noel. What do you mean?
What for?
They could have done something with him. They have Okafor, and Big was gonna come back.
What for?
And Big wasn't guaranteed. I'll give you that much. But you could at least get Jaylen Brown.
What the hell for?
And fill in other positions.
I don't know.
Are you telling me they're going to win with Stauskas and Derek Bayless or whoever is manning the point guard over there?
No, they're winning now. They've won some games. They're doing pretty decent in January.
Oh well.
I mentioned another team that's doing pretty good in January. The Clippers. They got Blake Griffin back. I haven't seen what the results were of his game back. I mentioned last week that they lost Chris Paul.
He had like 12 points and 10 plus rebounds, something like that.
That's not bad.
No, that is not.
Austin Rivers has been manning the point guard position.
I was going to say that. What do you think about Austin Rivers? He's been doing pretty good. I've seen a couple of game of his in which he ends up with 25 points and 6 assists, a couple of rebounds.
Yeah. when you don't have to play with the pressure of I have to do really good, otherwise they're going to put Chris Paul into play, he can play really well. They're giving him free reign to run the offense, to set up other players, to get his own shot, and he's playing really comfortably. I think that Chris Paul is coming up on the last year or so of his contract. I think he may be a free agent. I do not think that they would be in terrible hands if they decide to go young and start playing Austin Rivers.
I would agree. I would totally agree with that. I think he's
I'm contractually obligated to give a shout out to Cousin Juan because he did I was saving the comment of Austin Rivers is playing really well for the podcast. He happened to mention it yesterday, so he's like, you better make sure you give me props for that one. So props to Cousin Juan for bringing it up.
Props to Cousin. But yeah, man. In that same line, what do you think that happens with Blake? Does he stay there? Does he get resigned?
Re-signed?
Or he leaves. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't enjoy sports as much when it becomes something about numbers and contracts. It gets less fun for me. But
come on, that's fun.
I'll tell you
Contracts
that.
are fun.
Helton, what? Who the hell likes math, honestly?
Contracts are fun. Transactions are fun. Come on, say it. Say it with me. Transactions are fun.
I almost repeated that ironically, but no, I'm not going to say it. I think that there's a duplicity there in Blake Griffin and what DeAndre Jordan is becoming. Does he stay there? I don't know. Let's see what the Clippers look like without Chris Paul and with DeAndre Jordan and Blake Griffin in there at the same time. If they continue to win and the team feels that that's the direction they need to go in, to go younger at point guard, I say keep Blake Griffin and ship out Chris Paul.
Okay.
For whatever it's worth, Chris Paul is only taking you so far. It's not like you're doing any better. I don't think you're going to do any worse with whoever his replacement is.
Yeah.
All right. I wanted to make a point about the NBA trending back to defense. When last year it was all about three-pointers, like people. Yeah, when Stephen Curry was going crazy making all the three-pointers, like everyone was chasing after the next big who could space the floor. And now, with LeBron's rant, the focus is on, how is it that the New Orleans Pelicans score 124 points on us, like without Anthony Davis, who you can pretty much count on for 2010 just about any given night. Yeah. How do they still get 124 points? How do seven people, different people get to touch the ball in San Antonio before they take a shot and somehow they still put up 100 plus points? I know he said he wanted a playmaker, but more than a playmaker, someone to come off the bench and score points. Which, by the way, if you're good enough to score points off the bench, you're probably going to be a starter in the NBA. It's slowly trending back to defense. You're going to see how it's going to trend back to defense. I think when Cleveland got Iman Shumpert, the idea was that he was a really good perimeter defender, and now Shumpert, no, it's not even that. It's just he started kind of feeling himself. He's in the spotlight. He's trying to sell a clothing brand, and you don't really get your name mentioned on SportsCenter by standing in front of somebody and making it harder for them to shoot. So now he wants to shoot the threes. Yeah. He wants to have the dunks. He wants to do this thing. So you lost what made him integral to a team's design, and I don't know. Now teams seem like they are going to look for ways to stop other teams from scoring more points, which, by the way, I happen to think is the biggest problem the Knicks have.
The failure to defend?
To stop other players from scoring points. That is correct. All right. So we're going to talk a little.
The trend is not new, and it's going to happen in all sports.
It's not, but it kind of got jump started to 3-point shooting when Clay and Curry started doing their thing.
Is that this whole you've seen it as a trend is not new is what I'm saying. I mean, it's not a trend. People teams always run defense, but the thing is that after the whole 3-point explosion, as you will stated.
The 3-point revolution.
People want, the 3-point revolution.
The 3-point renaissance.
Normalcy. Exactly. The Da Vinci's and the Michelangelos and the Raphaels.
The 3-point renaissance that won you a championship one year and then got you 70 wins the next year, but then that same year they ended up losing because a team outgrinded them. And then the first game of this year, they got outgrinded by a team that out-rebounded them by like 20 rebounds, and they were like, maybe this isn't the direction that we need to go in. Like, 3-pointers only get you that far.
Yeah, I don't think they've realized that. They're still gonna shoot the threes and like nobody's business. But defense has always been a focus. Is that it comes now more into light because of the 3-point revolution, the 3-point renaissance. But the trend has always been there, but it's not like new. It just got overshadowed by your aptly named revolution.
Or renaissance. I'm still undecided. I'll trademark it soon enough.
Yeah, you should trademark it. You should trademark it.
I said it here first. Anyone who's watching, you can't take it from me. It's the 3-point renaissance.
You'll be sued. Promptly sued.
So the bread and butter of the Unofficial Commentators, by the way, we're on YouTube, the Unofficial Commentators, and on Podomatic Unofficial Commentators, is the football. And the matchups for the Super Bowl are set. Before I mention who the participants are, I do want to talk about some of the football that happened this weekend. It was shitty football. I won't lie to you guys. It was bad. Yeah. It was not the best football I've ever seen.
But so you know how hilarious that comment is, that Aaron Rodgers had shitty football and still wound up with 278 passing yards in 2 touchdowns, was it? So on a bad day, that guy's still slinging it. What the hell, man?
He was the only player of note doing any kind of anything on that team. It didn't seem like the Packers, the rest of the team, wanted to continue to play beyond that game. They're like, man, we kind of lucked out. Yeah, we got this game here.
He doesn't have Jordy. He was playing with Jared Cook, who is by no means a good receiver.
I wouldn't say that. I mean, he's a respectable tight end.
I don't know. I've heard people saying otherwise. I mean,
who are these people? Point them out to me. I'm going to smack them in the face. This is the same.
I don't have their addresses.
This is the same Jared
you have
Cook.
To give me a minute to exactly Google.
This is the same Jared Cook that put him in a position to win a game against Dallas. Granted, it was on the 3rd try, I believe.
That doesn't mean he's great. That means.
Oh, listen, man. I understand that Jared Cook is not Gronkowski, but he's good enough. I'm saying he's a respectable tight end. He is.
Come on, lower it a tad, and I'll agree with you. Put it at decent, and we'll be fine.
So decent is under respectable.
Put it at decent. No.
He's always been a player of note. Like, that's always been a name that I hear a lot, Jared Cook. I mean, there's a ton of tight ends that I have no idea what the hell they're called. And who's the tight end in Atlanta, the team that beat them? I have no idea what his name is. Is it Toilolo?
Hooper.
Is it
Toilolo?
Hooper?
No, it's,
I think it's Toilolo. Who the fuck is Justin Hooper?
And it was.
This is where I miss Paki. He would know all those obscure names that I don't know about. But
it is Hooper, and he substituted. What's this guy's name? Oh my God! Never mind. Keep going.
That other guy, who's not any good either.
He got injured.
He got substituted by Hooper, whoever the hell Hooper is. I saw that game and I didn't even remember that name. Who the hell is Hooper? Listen, I told Paki that Atlanta was really, really good, man.
Oh man, Atlanta had Matt Ryan. I don't know who talked to him, but he's having the year, and he's probably gonna be MVP.
Yeah.
I know people are gonna say Brady, but I think Matt Ryan's gonna be MVP. And the
thing about it is
Matt Ryan has
the thing about the the MVP, man, I got so many thoughts on this, and maybe we'll talk about it when we're not in the thick of the Super Bowl. But
Yeah.
the thing about MVP is, I heard someone told me. What the hell did I just say? Someone explained to me specifically that they hold on naming the MVP because they want to take into consideration the playoff performances. Not the Super Bowl, because they announced it the day before the Super Bowl, but the playoff performances. But you're not naming a playoff MVP, and if you were, there should be a separate award than whatever the regular season MVP is. Like the regular season MVP, it's really debatable. Like that's when you get really interested in, is it the offensive left tackle for the Dallas Cowboys, or is it possibly Le'Veon Bell? But at this point, like, all you have left is good quarterbacks. There's nothing else. So now you're choosing from the last four quarterbacks that were left, and you're saying, well, I guess the guys that won are better than the ones that lost. Let's give it to Matt Ryan. Like right now, I think it's basically between Brady and Matt Ryan. And you figure, do you give it to Brady, who you give it to all the time, or do you punish him for the whole Deflategate and the fact that he didn't play as many games, or do you give it to Matt Ryan for having a consistently good year?
First of all, I'd like to say hot take alert. Hot take alert. What you just said there.
The hell did I say?
Probably a hot take.
Really?
Why would you punish him for the whole Deflate game, not give him?
Because when he was serving his suspension, he was off on the beach tanning. So, like, what kind of suspension is that? Like I'm sure
he's showing the good people his butt.
I'm sure the boss thought like he was punishing him. He was like, "This is what I think of your suspension. I'm gonna go chill on the beach, you bitch." While you're playing in September.
Yes. Wouldn't you do that if you were suspended from a team? Wouldn't you just go to the beach and chill?
I don't know. I don't think that
Tom Brady.
I don't think that a somewhat mediocre linebacker could get away with that. They might get cut.
But that's what I'm saying. If you were Tom Brady and you had that suspension, wouldn't you just go to the beach and chill?
If I was Tom Brady, I wouldn't be doing the Unofficial Commentators
podcast. I don't think
podcast.
that's disrespectful at all. The fact that he went to the beach and showed the good people of the United States his butt while he was standing is not something that should get him demerited from the MVP. If he deserves it, he
Dago, I think a lot of people saw the games themselves, but what do you have specifically that you want to say about the games that you saw that's worth mentioning?
I saw one game.
Oh, okay.
I saw the one game I saw the Pittsburgh New England game, and that to me was a heartbreaking game because I wanted to see Le'Veon Bell. I wanted to see the guy that made me win the fantasy league this year. Two-time MVP, two-time champion, my friend. Yeah. I wanted to see Le'Veon Bell rock, run all over New England, and he got injured, and that was sad. And then Roethlisberger couldn't do jack shit.
Well,
and that was sad too.
Here we go.
And then Pittsburgh's defense doesn't notice Chris Hogan, and Chris Hogan goes wild and scores like 2 touchdowns in less than half. Come on. I'm not saying it, I mean, to me it's just sad because I really was rooting for Pittsburgh in that game because I hate the Pats. But come on, that was terrible for Pittsburgh.
I like Pittsburgh more than I hate the Pats. Like that's really not a driving force behind my considerations. But so much was said about, Bill Belichick will stop your best weapon. Well, how do you stop your best weapon when you have 4 best weapons? Enter the game, first quarter, Le'Veon Bell is gone, Antonio Brown is double teamed, and Chris Boswell, is that his name? Boswell? I forgot his first name. I know his last name is Boswell, the kicker. Kicker's missing extra points. And that was all she wrote.
Sammy Coates isn't doing anything.
I didn't expect him to do anything either.
No, but I mean,
and it was so bad and so disjointed that now the conversation is not so much, and I'm sure we'll have a whole bunch to talk about the Patriots in the coming weeks, but maybe not as much now that Gronkowski's not playing, but so much to talk about the Patriots in this coming week. But the conversation is now, should Big Ben retire? And I say nay. He should not retire. Hell no. I don't think he should retire. I'm not in that man's head. I don't know what he's honestly thinking, but look at how poor the entire team plays when he's not a part of it. Whether he's the best player or not, it doesn't seem like his current backup can get the ball to Antonio Brown. It doesn't seem like his current backup can direct the offense. So
let's be honest. Landry Jones is not nowhere near a decent backup quarterback. We all know that, and we all know that the team suffers with his performance, with the exception of Le'Veon Bell, because we know that man knows no boundaries, except for weed and this groin injury he just had.
That's a new technique that the Patriots are working on. They're like, let's pull his nutsack when he falls in the pile, and that's how we take care of Le'Veon Bell.
Step on his nuts.
And we're gonna disorient the Pittsburgh defense by ringing a fire alarm at 3 a.m. So they all have to wake up and they don't get a good rest, and they're all like loopy.
Did you know the guy pleaded not guilty because he wasn't aware of what he was doing because he was drunk?
I'm sorry, what?
He pleaded.
I mean,
he pleaded not guilty because he wasn't aware what he was doing because he was drunk.
I believe that the penalty for pulling a fire alarm is a year in jail. I would also plead not guilty and let the ball fall where it may.
Come on, bro.
Bro.
Oh man.
Who goes to court and says, "Yeah, I'm guilty"? No. You plead not guilty and let lawyers figure it out. They know more than I do about that stuff. It was sincerely sad to watch.
It was bad. It was bad, and it was also bad because even I was.
And what about those touchdowns that they took back? I mean, I'm not gonna say that the refs were paid off.
Every time they had a touchdown, it was taken back. They could never score it again.
I'm not gonna say that they were paid off. I'm not gonna say that the refs this or that, but they did the best.
She was in Foxborough.
They did the absolute best job of officiating I've ever seen. With that Jesse James play, I believe that 9 times out of 10 they're going to give that to them as a touchdown.
A touchdown. Yep.
And this time around, the ball didn't break the plane. Seriously, guy.
Not even that.
The dude face planted on the touchdown line, like on the pylon, basically. And the ball didn't pass, just his helmet, so that doesn't count. Wow, he almost broke his neck to get that, and you're gonna deny it. And then the next play, rather than using 6'4", 200 and whatever pound Ben Roethlisberger to sneak it in for a couple of inches, they decide to give D'Angelo Williams a running start from like the 20-yard line to try to push it in on a play that ends up costing him 3 yards because, much like my good friend Carlos Santana, number 36 of the Central City Crows, he got the ball and decided to do cuts. Decided to do some cuts. Saluda mi pana, Carlos Santana. Crom.
Yeah.
Cuts.
Yeah, I thought it was stupid of him to give it to D'Angelo Williams. I don't know what they were thinking. And the other touchdown that was called back, what was it called back for? Was it an offensive pass interference, something like that?
Something called illegal touching, but I don't know if that was because.
What was that about?
I don't know if that's because they touched beyond. I think the play is called that way because he touched him beyond like the first 5 yards. I think he touched the the cornerback. Something that they never call, by the way. There's a bunch of touching downfield, and they hardly ever see that, but they decided to cut this one. But I believe, though, that the receiver went out of bounds and then came back in, and there's a rule that says that you can't be the first one to touch the ball. So if it wasn't one thing, it was going to be the other. Like, I believe that the call was, when they got to the end zone, he pushed off the receiver, and that's why he was so open, like you saw him. But even then, I think he was out of bounds and came back in. So had one thing not happened, they would have definitely gone for the other. Just bad breaks. The best damn officiating I've ever seen happened this Sunday at Foxborough. Do you have anything to say about the other game, Atlanta and Green Bay? Other than, Atlanta gave Green Bay, they gave them 154 chances to come back to that game. They put the ball in their hands, I don't know how many times, and just kept dropping it. And it seems like the Packers were defeated after that fumble.
All I'm going to say is that the Falcons gritted that cheese, and then they did like this.
Oh, God. Salt Bay is my new hero, by the way. I love that guy.
Yeah, man, that guy can cook.
Dude, I don't know if he can cook meat. He can season the fuck out of it, though. Anyway, I'm usually, amongst my circle of friends, I'm usually the last one to understand any of these memes. I have to rely on my younger cousins to explain to me what the hell is going on. I inadvertently got in really quickly on the Salt Bay trend, and I'm quite excited about it. This is like a meme that I understand. I feel like less of an old man because I got in on the ground floor of this one.
Oh man,
Salt Bay is my guy.
Salt Bay is the January 2017 meme. I'm waiting for the February one. I want to know what's coming up, because this guy is like the ultimate meme, man.
Hot like fire. We call it memes in English.
Yeah, memes. I know. There was one.
I said meme here. People looked at me like, "What the fuck are you talking about?"
Yeah, I know. I'm sorry, it's memes. I'm talking meme because it just flows out like it was Spanish.
Yeah.
There's one just reminded me of school. Like when you would have a presentation and you did nothing to it, and they just allow you to read the last line, and you're like, that was the tops.
Oh yeah, when you got out of there last minute. Hey, say this. Close it out. Introduce all of us, and then thank everyone for coming. That's it. All right, Dago, man, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule, man, and time away from your beautiful family to come and help me out with this one. I really appreciate the help and the participation.
Anytime, bro. Anytime.
I know that usual fans of the Unofficial Commentators may miss the analysis that Paki brings to the table, but I hope I was able to rant enough to make you miss him a little bit less. And
yes.
Outside of that, man, it's usual cast will be back here next week to cover the Super Bowl. Everyone, have a very good evening. Thank you for participating. And once again, make sure you follow us at Unofficial Commentators on YouTube, Unofficial Commentators on Podomatic, unofficialcommentators@gmail.com for any questions, comments, contributions to the show. Follow us at Unofficial Commentators on Instagram, at UC_podcast on Twitter, and the Unofficial Commentators Facebook page. Follow Mr. Dagoberto at AstroFunk on Instagram and on the Twitter. And good luck to everyone this week with all your sports watching and predictions. And I will see you again next week.
This is you, Jay, after when you're giving your announcements. Follow us on Twitter. Follow us on Instagram. Follow us on this Podomatic.
There you go.
YouTube. Subscribe.